Yeah, of course, man. So they're basically, there's a lot of different stuff you can do with your, with your wave. It's a lot easier to get away with stuff if you have a teleport. But there's the freeze. So, let's say I'm blue side here. Right? I'm getting my pen app open. So a freeze, you generally want to have the minions around there. So probably no closer to the tower than before here, if that makes sense, before these little dots. Otherwise the tower will hit it. To keep a freeze, you want to make sure they have more minions than you. So if they have 7 minions and you have 5, it pushes towards you. The basic rule of minions is if it's the one with more minions, it pushes. So if I have more and they have fewer,
minions have spawned.
It'll push from more to fewer. Additionally, it will push from, there's the equal minion rule, kind of what it's called. So if we'll call this the middle of the lane, it'll stay in the middle of the lane roughly, because it'll be 6 and 6. But let's say we move that to right here. If it's on this side of the wave and it's 6 and 6, it'll no longer be even. Let me draw that. It'll push because it's further on this side. So the minions, it basically will just push this way. I can't really explain why, but it's because these minions get here sooner. I'll show you an example with, I'll fast push this wave real quickly.
I can be so much more.
Get it to crash. Good practice for me to farm. But I want to do this quickly, so I don't need to practice farming. See, this doesn't crash fully. So this is gonna freeze for the enemy. It's kind of close, so it'll freeze pretty poorly. Because once a few of these front minions die, they'll start walking around to attack the back minions and the tower will kill them, so it's not a good freeze.
This power is
You see? It's frozen because my minions have more than them. So it's gonna stay in this spot. Notice how if this was the enemy doing it, they would be keeping more of my minions alive. But if you want to make sure they don't have too many minions either. Because look how many minions I have. It's killing their minions really quickly. I have way more than them. I have. Plus, mine keep diving under the tower, like I was saying. So that's why that spot is bad. You generally want to do it around here. That's a freeze. See, now it crashes. But see, now these minions don't die. So what's going to happen is it's 6 to 6. It's meeting right here. And since it's even in numbers, it's going to push back this way. Roughly. Because these minions focus all on the same minion up here. And now they're going to focus on this minion. And so it's going to die a lot faster because it's focusing the same minions at the same time. So notice how it's going to slowly start pushing back towards my side. Notice how there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 6.
People fear what they cannot understand.
This is a slow push if I was on the red side. I'm gonna just thin the wave out because notice how I did some damage to the minions so there's not as many. So now I can set up a freeze if I want to, because they're still pushing to me because there's 2 extra minions from that first wave on their side and none from mine. So it pushes toward me still. But now it's not, because it's only 2 minions more, it's not pushing quite as fast. If there were still 6 minions more, it would push really quickly. And you gotta keep this in mind with attacking the enemy there, trying to poke them down. And now, because it's starting to get close, I'm letting this slow push into me. And now I want to let this freeze. So what I'm going to do to freeze is I'm going to slowly thin the wave, is what it's called. I'm going to do a few autos, a couple Qs, to slowly kill the wave. I want it to be around here, so I'm going to kill these minions. You generally want to have the ranged minions doing the ones that are doing it. And if I want to keep it frozen, I'll let the minions hit me a little bit so that they're not moving forward to the tower, and then I'll move over to the side so it stays in this spot. And even though it's on my side, it's not pushing to them because there's still more over here. So now I have a good freeze going. Make sure to last hit, don't hit the wave. Notice that if there's a fizz here and the fizz is standing in the wave, if I Q him to poke him, I also push the wave, so you gotta be careful of that. But notice how it's still frozen because there's more minions here. And the cannon will do a lot. This is really good to do in a range versus melee, and it's very good against... I don't know about Katarina because she'll just roam. But like, if you want to get your jungler to gank you, it's very good. As melee, if you can try to freeze here, it's really good into ranged, but you don't really get as much of a save in that matchup. But notice how I must have messed up the freeze somewhere. So now I'm going to start a slow push. My goal with the slow push is to get a really big wave that pushes into their tower. So I'm going to slowly auto the minions. And my goal is probably to not crash this wave, but crash the next one that's coming out. You can see where their wave is because it's the same as yours. So their wave is right here. I'm pushing this a little bit too much. But notice how
I am in control.
I didn't do it properly. I want the wave right here so I can quickly push. And then when you do a slow push like this, notice how long it's taking for their minions to kill my minions. Assume that I got this pushed out when I wanted to, right? Look how long this gives me to roam the map to get a reset and not miss any minions because the tower is here. The minions are all under the tower with a lot of minions. So you can walk around the map. I have no boots. I'm walking very slowly. If I reset there, I'd probably be back here already. And I've missed 0 minions so far. So you generally want to do a slow push right before backing. I would have missed 1 minion so far. 2 minions so far. So I'm going to do a slow push on this wave, but notice how I missed 3 minions. I would already be back to lane. And it's slow pushing back to me. So if I'm arranged, if I'm playing Syndra versus Fizz, this goes back to safety for me. You generally want to do it when it's a cannon minion, cannon wave. So you notice right here, I'll demonstrate it in bot lane. I'm going to reset. This is going to crash into tower. This is a cannon wave. So it'll push back to me very slowly. And I won't miss much. So I'm going to get my Lost Chapter and I'll get boots. And I'll walk back to lane. You'll see how quickly I walk back to lane. This works in mid just because bot had the opportunity there. And notice how it's still pushing back to me mid. So if I roamed as Syndra and their bot lane roamed as same as me, I still miss less than they would. Because there's still all this that I would still have left, right?
People fear what they cannot understand.
So this should be pushing back to me here. I missed 2 minions with boots. I could have used my W and gotten that one, but... And now it's pushing back into me. And that one's still slow pushing back into me. You generally want to do this, especially in lanes where you feel unsafe, like if you're a Victor versus a Zed. It gives you, or even if you're a Zed, if you have the ability to, it gives you very long roam timers. Roam timing means where you can roam without missing anything. And if you look mid, this pushes to the enemy because there's the same number of minions, but it's on their side of the, but it's on my side of the lane. that makes sense. So that's kind of a freeze, a slow push. A fast push is just kind of when you really want to roam ASAP. So I just want to push this in. I need to reset. I want to... Dragon's about to spawn. I want to come. But I don't want to get the wave in. I just quickly push. Make sure it crashes. I know it'll crash because you can see where the wave is on my side. And then I can go and help with Dragon. So that way, it's if they go to contest, they miss the wave. And it's pushing back to you. So even if they try to contest, you go back to the wave and the wave's still coming back to you. You know?
Barriers exist to be broken.
And now, see, this is slow pushing back to top tower. There's a cannon here, which takes a while to die and does push a lot more than a couple minions. But remember, there's still so many minions, it's going to slow push back to you. And I'm teleporting because this is a practice tool. You can't do that in a normal game, obviously, but... And again, I'm going to try to set up a freeze up here, just to show you how I do it. Freezes are very important in top lane. I'm going to keep these 5 minions here. I'm going to thin it a little bit with autos. I don't want to use my mana. But notice how there's so many minions. Mine just die so much faster, because they get so many more autos per second. But I'm going to have to tank this wave, and I know that. But I don't want to tank so many minions. You generally only need around 3 per wave. It depends where you want to get the freeze. I want to freeze around here. So I'm going to just go and drag this into the tower, because I don't want to take too many. If there's too many minions, you take a lot of damage. Notice how you have to acknowledge what they're going to do in the first place. You know that thing that I showed you where I drag the wave around? They will often drag the wave around. And if you see them dragging it into the bush and taking the damage from the creeps, if you walk up, sometimes you can walk up and then make them go back into tower because they don't want to take the trade. You know? We'll do it mid again. So 6v6 is on this side of the lane, so it's going to push to me. Make sure to only last hit so I can get a freeze. Actually, I might not, because I autoed the minions, but... Now it'll freeze. Slowly push. Just last hit. This is good for me to practice just auto-attacking last hits, too, always, but just play around with the wave a little. I think I autoed a little too much, because I want to let it freeze and show when it comes in, but...
This power is mine to command.
I'm gonna do it top, because I already messed up. But, so this will slowly push into my tower here, I believe. So I can drop this minion off here. Just Syndra things and practice tool to make sure it pushes into me. Just bring an extra minion. And I'll show you what you do. Is to cause the freeze, is you're gonna wanna take the minion aggro. So that way they don't just rush your tower. So I just stand around here, let the minions hit me, instead of going to crash. It'll probably be this wave that crashes. And to prevent the freeze, often you have to push the wave in quickly, or you have to prevent them from getting it in the first place. I'm gonna just stop farming, because I wanna make sure it crashes. Yes, crash.
Let them try to stop me.
God, I need to grab another minion. Why is that one going top? And I'll let it come here and push into me. So this one will push into me now.
I am in control.
Okay. So notice how this is pushing into me and how I'm going to hold it here. Never mind, I need to wait for the next wave, I guess, because this one came too quickly again. I'm going to thin the wave to set up the freeze.
I can be so
And then I'll tank a little bit of the damage from the minions, because there's still more minions. There's 4 to 3, so it pushes to me. And I want to just tank these, so that way it doesn't crash on my tower. Again, I want to make sure I don't take too much damage. But what you can do to prevent this is if you see it, you just walk up to them and threaten a trade. Because trading in minions... Look, I was almost full health. I took that much damage from just tanking the freeze. So be very careful if you don't have health pots or any built-in sustain.
easily.
And then keeping neutral is just, you generally just try to do the same sort of wave manipulation, but just center of the lane, if that makes sense. You can try to freeze, you can just try to keep it in this wave. Generally good into matchups where you don't want to push hard. Something like Katarina, where you don't want to push too hard because their jungler might gank you and they can chase you down the lane, right? But if you freeze your lane against Katarina, Katarina's just gonna roam and just say whatever. I don't care about the minions. And just go double kill your bot. But if you can keep it kind of around here, or Pike, yeah, probably Pike. You might want to push them in. I mean, there's times to push them in, but that's a basic guideline to wave management. Very basic, very not too nuanced, but yeah. Applying it can be pretty hard and pretty advanced, but overall it's not too advanced. Some aspects of it, knowing when to freeze, knowing when to slow push, knowing when to fast push, knowing what to do after you get your freeze, knowing what to do after you get your slow push. Do you reset? Do you go roam? Do you stay in lane and try to get plate? That's where it gets a little more advanced. But it's not too hard to slowly be able to learn how to do everything. It's not too hard to be able to do any of it, but... But yeah. Yeah, of course. As a jungle main, it's very hard to learn wave management if you're just playing jungle. But it's also very good to know after, when you're jungling, to look at the lane state. If you can look mid and see, oh, because there's more minions on the enemy team, on the enemy side of the map than mine, it's going to push to my laner. So I know in 20 to 30 seconds, assuming my laner doesn't do anything to the minions, it's going to push to my laner, so I might be able to gank in 20 to 30 seconds mid. That's something you can also do as a laner, or as a jungler, for helping with your ganks. It also helps you know, do you have to help your laner push the wave in after you get the gank, or do you want to, or are they trying to freeze it? You know? If your laner has prio, if they're going to be able to help you move, etc. So that's very useful for a jungler to know as well.